we are probably live right now, and because it's going to take a minute for us to show up on this end that we're live for whatever reason.
It says
There.
Okay. So we are.
Okay. Very good. So we have one person watching, and there we are. Okay, good. Okay, so I'm just going to remind everybody to say good morning and let us know that you are here. And I am going to go back to there we go. Now I can see you again. Can you see me? Yes.
I can see you. Yes.
Great. Okay, so we're going to give everybody a little bit of chance to get in here. And I need to have some music or something playing whenever that happens, right? Getting this channel, the live stream started, always feels a little bit awkward. So, okay, so now the notice went out, so we should have other people popping in. If you're watching now, it says there's 3 here. Y'all say hello so that we can say hello before we get started this morning. I am say your last name for me, Sophia.
Mucino.
Mucino. Good morning, Doreen. Can I call you D? It's good to see you here. I'm excited about that. Hi, Shelly. Good to see you. Good morning. Sheila, good morning. Chesney, hi, good morning from the UK. Awesome. GOSSOG, hello. Goss. Bianca, hey D, good morning D. Helen, good morning y'all. Intuitive healing. Good morning Vanessa, how are you? Beautiful sunshine. Vanessa's who we spoke with Thursday night. I think you were, we were talking about that earlier. Okay, so thank you, Dee. She said, yeah, I could call her Dee instead of Doreen. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We're with Sophia Mucino, Birmingham, UK, watching. Clarky Diddy D. Marie. Hi, good morning. Diddley D. Marie. Good morning. So Sophia is one of our subscribers. She is our Saturday morning roundtables. I just want to remind y'all, this is where we get together with you guys, where somebody from out there in YouTube land that subscribes to Spirit Mail jumps on and we have a conversation. So this is Sophia Mucino, and she was actually drawn to participate last weekend, but was out of town for a funeral, and we extend our condolences for that. But we're glad to have you, Sophia. So tell us, what was it about Roundtable that intrigued you and made you want to jump on and say hi and talk to the community?
Yes, well, I've just been intrigued by all of the stories, all of the messages. It's so wonderful to be able to share and learn from one another. And Cheryl, you give us a space that's so warm and inviting, and we feel like we can just, talk to you as if we've known you for a while. And I guess that's what television and maybe YouTube and people that expose themselves, that's what it does. You become familiar with them, even though, you haven't met us all. We feel drawn to you. So it's a good space to be able to converse and just share with one another.
Yes, I agree with that. And the connection, because, sometimes we feel like we're out there by ourselves and that we might be the only person going through something right now. And you just shared with me right before we got on live about you're in a transition period where you've just ended a 32-year marriage. And if you would be willing to talk about that, we'll talk about that a little bit later, just in a little while. The first thing that I would like to talk about, that I always like to talk about, because I feel like we're all on this similar path where we were brought up one way or exposed to a certain kind of culture as far as religion goes. And now we find ourselves on this spiritual journey where it's like we experience God bigger, than we ever thought and differently than what we were taught. So what was that like for you?
Well, my grandmother, she took me to church when I was at a very young age, and she had converted from Catholicism and she went to a Baptist church. And she always took me to church when I was a little girl. We always went to church with grandmother. And just that's, my memories, my earliest memories are of, singing and being in church. And later in life, when I became older, my mother and my father separated, and my mother became a Catholic and my father went to Pentecostal church. So I was exposed to different religions. And I remember just as I got older and I married, just not wanting to be a part of any of them, which, I was almost embarrassed. I was almost thinking, what is wrong with me? But I did always feel like this, like they wanted to just kind of rule my life. What I feel, with spirits, with God, is different. I've always felt like he was a very kind and caring. I say he just because that's, what I've always said. It's not
Your culture, your terminology.
Understand. Right. It's not because I don't understand. It's just something it's more habit. At any rate, I just always knew. I always knew that there was more and that I didn't have the complete story. So watching your channel, other tarot channels, learning more about spirit has just been a wonderful eye-opening experience. It's filled me differently than religion has. It has awoken a different part of me that really just makes me feel at peace now.
Right. So let me ask you this, because a lot of times when we're coming from religion into spirituality, we have hangups. We like a lot of people ask me, and my family, you've heard the stories if you watch my videos, that this is actually evil. How do you overcome that? Because you've had so much exposure in church growing up. How do you overcome that thought, or have you even had that thought?
I have not come out of the closet. Maybe now I have. I don't know. It depends on who will see the video. I haven't told, my father, my sisters, I haven't told anyone. But I don't think I've had the thought that it's evil, because I truly don't believe it is.
Right.
And I never, as I said, I never truly felt at peace, within the different churches that I was in. So I don't think that I have felt that this is evil, or anything that exposes spirit in a better way is evil.
Right. So how do you said that you get more peace and more I don't remember the exact words you said, but it's like tarot gives you something that church did not. Do you
Yes.
understand how that works for you, and can you expound on that a little bit more? How does that happen? What do you mean?
Well, I just know that, when you're given a scripture in the Bible, sometimes, when it's translated, and this could be true for tarot as well, but sometimes when it's translated, it's really difficult to get the message. And I don't know why, but with the tarot and with the cards, I feel the message deeper and it really connects with me. And that's just my feeling. It's not for everyone. It's just that, that I feel. And, there's lots of messages out there. There's some that absolutely don't connect. But those that do, I'm just left with an inner sense of peace. If that little nugget truly has resonated and it's helped. So I'm not sure if you can give a description of how you feel on the inside, but that's the best way I could describe it.
Right. I think I feel like, whenever this is just me, and we're having a conversation, and this is just me. I think that whenever we're looking at the scriptures, sometimes we're forgetting to remember that they were written 2,000 years ago, and perhaps the wording, the words have vibrations and all that other stuff, but perhaps the way that it was written all those years ago just doesn't resonate because it doesn't seem to fit our world today. And so maybe with tarot, and then again, you said some of the tarot doesn't resonate, but some of it does. And I think it depends on the messenger, just like in the Bible, the messages that were written were filtered through those people's understandings. And I think the same is true with tarot. Each tarot reader is different. Some of our messages within the cards are different. And I think it's because of, again, our own understanding of what we're doing here and what, how we interpret the messages.
Yes, yes. I do believe that that's true.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I was just going to finish by saying yes. Some messages, they come through loud and clear, and others do not. And I have also listened to them later, and later it seems like there's a different message. I love that.
Yes, it's true. It's kind of like because energy is so fluid. Energy is always moving. And so we might listen to something today that doesn't resonate and turn around and listen to it 2 weeks from now or a month from now. And it's like, oh, I get it, because of something we've experienced along the way. And I always say these cards themselves, in and of themselves, they have no power, but it's like the energy of our creator moves the cards and actually decides which cards come out for each message. So and they know, the spirits know before and after. So we're going to go to the chat and see what people are saying. Love listening to you. Good morning, Psyche and Eros. Good morning, Dee. We had bad weather here in North Carolina. Okay, good. Glad y'all's bad weather's gone. Vanessa, you're so sweet. So Sheila Nolan is on here. She says she empathizes with you because she's just recently divorced from a 20-year marriage yesterday.
Oh.
Almost a year in the library doing my own research on religion. This should be the way with everyone. I'm changed forever. Psyche and Eros. I hope I'm saying that right. Yes, more spiritual now. Yes, when we start digging, we do get more spiritual. I can relate to her. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone from the UK. Misty, it's good to see you. Susie Quinn, good to see you. Psyche and Eros, energy never dies, it departs. Father means to go further, deepest, reaching farther, Father. Okay, so it's just people making comments. I mean, not that y'all's comments aren't important, because they are, but hang on. Greetings from Mexico. The tarot and oracle cards are tools. I channel direct, and the cards are oftentimes just a tool of confirmation for the person I'm doing the reading for. Diane, yes, I agree with that totally. Totally understand what y'all are talking about. I feel that spirituality is led more from a loving place. I do too. I feel like what you were saying, you just kind of always knew within that God was more about love.
Yes.
So let's talk about real life and spirituality in our real life, in our day-to-day life, and a 32-year marriage now done. And how are you processing this? And is spirituality helping you to process this?
Yes, I always have gone to spirit in difficult times. I can truly say that there's been 2 times in my life. Once when my grandmother passed away, it was a really difficult time for me. And then now that I'm ending this marriage, and I've known for a long time that I wanted to end the marriage, but I just knew that it was going to break, my spouse's heart. I knew it would. And so that is what kept me from leaving, per se, from ending the relationship. And so I've always gone to spirit when I have felt lost. Truly, I love to read. So I've always gone into books. And I remember finding many years ago, like 10, 15 years ago, finding chicken soup books. and just, reading them so quickly and just, devouring them, and then going into, more in-depth books. And of course, the Abraham Hicks books. And I think I read a little bit of the Seth books, and just, just really just devouring those and trying to absorb them as much as I could. And with each thing that has happened, it's made me stronger spiritually. And right now, again, it's been difficult, because I mentioned to you earlier, when I see my spouse and I see the hurt, it's hard not to feel like that is, my fault. And even though I would not, return
Right.
of those feelings. So that's where I'm at right now.
So how are you processing those feelings? Because, whenever we allow ourselves to be bathed in guilt, right? That, okay, this is my fault, I take all the blame. It can cripple us just like fear can. So what are you doing to self-care, to remind yourself, how are you handling that? What are you doing for self-care?
Well, I'm definitely feel like I'm stagnated in that right now, currently. But every day, I try to have positive affirmations. And every day I try to really, and I do understand that, but sometimes you're kind of stuck, even though you know what's true. It takes a while to kind of move through that energy. And I realize everything is a process.
Right.
So I try to do positive affirmations, and I have a son, a 14-year-old son. So I'm very, very active with him, and he uplifts my spirit every single day. So it's good to embrace, your loved ones, and just to continue forward. And then late in the evenings, when things have calmed down, I go in and I listen to these messages, these positive messages. And I think that's truly helped me in my journey.
Right. So you said 32 years, and you knew for quite a while before you finally ended it that you were wanting to end it, but you knew it was going to break your heart. So what was the final push for you to do what you felt was right for you?
To be honest with you,
Yeah.
I feel like spirit helped me end this marriage. I just really feel that spirit intervened. I wanted to sell my home, and we put it up on the market. And I remember mentioning to him that when it sold, I was going to go a different direction, and he would take another home that, we owned together, and, that could be his residence. And the home sold within 2 to 3 months. And, you question what you've already said, you question what you feel, what you know. And what, I'm not sure if you didn't hear me correctly, but I knew that it was going to break his heart.
Yes.
So, I'm sorry. So that's what happened. The home.
I feel like whenever you said you knew it was going to break his heart, that's what kept you there.
Yes.
Longer than you wanted to be there. Yes. So that's why I was asking what finally made you decide to end it.
Yes.
How did you finally come to that decision?
Yes, I just knew that if we sold the home, I would absolutely go in a different direction. And that's exactly what happened. And it happened within 3 months. It was so fast, Cheryl.
Mm-hmm.
So fast. And I did, and now that, we are separated, I just know that, I wouldn't go back.
Right. Right. And so, and you're processing the guilt.
Yes.
I say the guilt, but the responsibility for his heartbreak.
For his hurt.
Right. And so, and another thing you said earlier before we jumped online was that you understand that there's things that you're going to have to go through, but there's things that he has to go through too.
Yes.
So while you know that we're all connected, you also know we're individuals, it sounds like. So he's got a journey to walk through also. So tell me, what are your plans as you move forward? We talked about self-care, you're doing affirmations and watching positive messages and stuff like that. But what are your plans as you go forward?
Well, my son has about 4 more years in school, and then he'll graduate. And so I'd love to start a business. And I'm right now looking for a new home. So I have steps, for my future in the right direction. And I would, truly like to stop working where I'm working now. Just take a step in a different direction.
Just a whole new world, a whole new life.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, which is so unbelievable because when you grow up, in the Baptist church and, that these religions, you feel a tremendous amount of guilt for not standing beside, your man. You're supposed to do this for life,
Yes.
all of that you bring when you make a decision, you bring all of that with you.
Yes.
So you have to, go through that and understand at a deeper level that you're making the right choice, even though you've heard so many times, that you're not supposed to do that.
Right. Did you find yourself, I'm going to ask you this question. I'm going to let you ponder the answer I'm going to let you ponder the answer while I read some of these comments, because people are saying some like paragraph long comments. So I'm going to go and read them out loud to you. But to ponder, like before you left, before you finally made that decision that, yes, I want to leave, when the house sells, I'm leaving. Did you find yourself in a state of depression? Did you find yourself drained all the time? Did you have physical symptoms that you felt like this has to be related? Those types of things. And if you can think about that for a minute, I'm going to go
Okay.
right here and read all these questions. Totally understand what y'all are talking about. I feel that. This is Misty Barrett. Totally understand what y'all feel like. I feel that spiritually is led from a loving place. GGP. Hey, Gigi, how are you doing? She wants to know, what does the Bible say about twin flame? I don't know that Sophia has any do you have any thoughts on the twin flame journey? I don't know that either of us would.
I've heard a lot about it. I don't think that he and I were in a twin flame relationship, possibly a soulmate, because what I understand is that there are many soulmates in your life, quite a few, and they're there to teach us big lessons. And I have learned a big lesson, and it was about boundaries.
Yeah.
Major boundaries. And
we're gonna talk about that. Let's go through. We're gonna talk about that in just a minute, but let's go back and read the rest of these. Lives are very hard for me. I know you've heard me say that. Angela, good morning. BJ Jasper, hello everyone from Ohio. What are your feelings on the dark night of the soul? Lost my son almost 3 years ago to suicide. He was bullied to death by his girlfriend. Oh my God.
Gosh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, BJ. We may get to that. Well, we'll ask, you know what? There's two questions. So twin flames and our thoughts on dark night of the soul. And then we're going to keep going. I stayed with a man who molested my child because mom said I should suck it up, and he was drunk. I stayed for a while. I had 3 kids, but things triggered me and I would have breakdowns. Pamela, it was affecting my children. So I finally opened up to someone and left. Good for you, Pamela. Church tells us sometimes, like you said, that, that this is a lifetime commitment. We have to stay.
Yes.
For better or for worse.
Yes.
So when you say for better or for worse, and your husband's molesting your children, it's like, for better or for worse, I have to stay. So Pamela, I have a lot of compassion for you and that story, because I've actually lived it from the place of my child being molested by her uncle. Self-love and self-care can be challenging when you have always taken care of others. I was going to talk about that too. Spirit's always working with us and our personal cheerleaders, wanting the best for us. Yes. Thank you, Misty. Y'all, I just don't know. Y'all are saying so much stuff. I don't want to take up the whole time reading the comments because I want Sophia to talk. So we're going to go back to, I'm going to learn how to navigate that one day. We're going to go back to, okay, so you were talking about soulmate, and you think that we have different soulmates throughout our
Yes.
life. So go ahead and let's talk about that. What were you?
Well, I think that they're brought into our lives to teach us a lesson. You know, there's lessons that we learned, and there's some that are there to kind of elevate us. And so it was, I think I knew, as I mentioned before, that I needed to leave the relationship. But, you know, for those reasons that I mentioned, you know, I didn't. But now that I have, I see that I needed to set boundaries.
Yeah.
And that I'm learning now, you know, to respect myself more and to believe in myself more, and just to really give myself the space that I need. And that, I think that's what I've really taken from this.
Okay, so I'm going to dig deep with you
Okay.
because whenever we say things, we need to set boundaries and stuff like that. For me, I think we always hear and understand better when we can get an example. And if it's too personal and you don't want to go there, that's
Okay.
fine. But if you have a personal example that you could share with us about boundaries, that would be great. If not, we'll go on to the next question.
Okay. So a personal example of boundaries. Oh my goodness. Just decision making. I think that was the biggest. Allowing the other person to make the decisions constantly in the beginning was very difficult, because you don't get your voice isn't heard.
Right.
Your voice isn't heard. And so sometimes by saying, you know, no, or in this case, having an argument, you know, saying, this is really what I think, you know, and after so many times of that not being heard, it's not good, because you begin to have, you know, quarrels, arguments. And in my case, you know, I feel now very ashamed for the person I became, because, you know, he was loud, I became louder so that I could be heard.
Yeah.
You know? And so, yes, setting boundaries to things that I just truly knew in my heart that I needed to stand up for and stand up and say, you know, sometimes you just need to really be heard.
Right. Right. It's a good example, because whenever we talk about boundaries, typically we think about keeping people or things away from us that are going to hurt us. But in this case, when you're talking about boundaries, you're basically saying boundaries. You're not going to squash my voice. That's a boundary.
Yes.
I am going to come back and speak my truth.
Yes.
So this is more of an offensive boundary, like
Yes.
Like you're not going to shut me up, basically.
Yes.
And I think that's great. That's a great way, a great twist on the boundary talk, because usually boundaries are like, if you're going to be ugly to me, you can't come around me, that kind of thing.
Yes. Yes.
So okay, so let's go back to BJ, who was talking about his son committed suicide because he was bullied to death by his girlfriend. So what are our feelings about dark night of the soul? So I've never lost a child to suicide, so I can't speak to that necessarily. But talk about dark night of the soul. Have you experienced that? Do you feel like
no, I don't think I have. I need for someone to give me more information about that. What is dark night of the soul?
I think it's different for different people. I feel like I was actually going through a dark night of the soul before I left my husband, because I would go to bed at night and pray that God would just take me in my sleep, because I was just spiritually and emotionally dead, done.
Yes.
I had nothing left to give. There was nothing in my cup to give anymore. For me, that was like a dark night of the soul.
So almost when you become depressed, almost you become, I think I did do a big disconnect towards the end, a disconnect with him, in that I wouldn't speak, we wouldn't have conversations. We're just coming and going. And I was always doing my own thing, very, and just no words. And for me, that's very difficult. I love to connect with people, and especially with my loved ones. And in this case, I didn't even want to approach, him, because I knew what the subject matter was going to be. So there was just a complete cutoff, just, I'm not going to even discuss this, And so possibly that could have been my dark night of the soul, just where I just disconnected completely and said, we're not talking about this any longer.
Right. BJ, for you specifically, we did an interview Tuesday night with a gentleman named Brian Smith called Grief to Growth. It's GR. He has a YouTube channel called Grief to Growth. It's GRIEF, the number 2, and then growth, GROWTH. So I would encourage you to watch that interview and possibly go to his channel to find more information on what you're going through specifically with the death of your son, because that is so tragic. And I feel like, personally, I feel like I don't have the words for you. I don't even know how to begin to. I feel the compassion and the empathy for you, but I don't know how to direct you. But if you go and listen to that interview, it's here on this channel, and then possibly check out his channel too, so that you can find more resources for what you're particularly going through right now. Okay, so I'm going through here, and I'm strictly, y'all, I'm telling you, strictly looking for question marks. So, okay, so Misty, we asked that question, what are you doing? You're saying to release that energy of guilt and responsibility. And I basically said, what are you doing for self-care? And you talked about, Sophia, you talked about affirmations and stuff like that. Sorry, but releasing the energy of guilt and responsibility, would you say you're doing the same thing?
I think so. And just, constantly trying to, it's always a mental battle, what we have in here, and so just going through those, and with my positive affirmations has helped, and just, working through it daily. Again, I do, lots of reading, lots of, watching videos, and just, working on me for this time period.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if anyone has any suggestions on, anything else I could do.
We're gonna look at that. Yeah. Wow, ladies, awesome conversation. Great question. Awesome, honest, authentic answers. Thank you, Sophia, for being so open. Guilt, self-love, and honoring the self often come hand in hand. Yes. That's Diane Wolf, Latham or Latham, that is saying that. So I was wondering what support Sophia has. So do you journal? This Diane's also wondering, do you journal? And
yes.
Do you use art or anything like that also?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the last part of that.
Do you use art or any other creative outlet in addition to journaling?
Right. I do journal. I used to do a lot of art. I don't any longer. My son keeps me really busy, but so I just have a little bit of time in the evenings. But I do lots of journaling and reading, lots of reading.
Lots of reading, huh? Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Thanks, Diane. Working on this myself. Yes, absolutely had. Sheila Nolan says she absolutely had physical symptoms. And I asked you about that. Did you have any physical symptoms, like feeling of being drained and stuff like that? Did you have any physical symptoms?
Yes, I have felt exhausted on certain days. I've just felt so tired, and just the need to sleep, the need to sleep longer than normal, which is, just craziness. And again, you go back to the mind where you think, why am I, get up, you've got to get things done. You've got to go here, you've got to go there. And, self-care is definitely about listening to your body.
Yes.
Giving yourself that time as well. And it's definitely, a grieving process of an ending, So yes, I have had that.
I'm going to tell y'all a story, and I know this is really where we're supposed to be getting to know Sophia, but I'm going to
That's
tell
okay.
you. I'm going to tell y'all a story. The husband that I divorced in 2016, I had also previously divorced him in the end of 2003, I think it was. And then we got remarried after the Hurricane Katrina, or right before it. I don't remember, but anyway, I had so much rage and anger before I divorced him the first time. I will never forget, and I am not proud of this statement, but it was my frustration speaking out of my mouth, out of the heart. The mouth speaks. And I walked into my work one day, and my boss said, you might want to go put your arm around Renee, our receptionist. Her husband died this morning. And I said, well, she's lucky, because it's a whole lot easier to deal with death with your kids than have to go through a divorce. And, but I was ugly about it. And so and whenever it came out of my mouth, I thought, okay, this is bad. This is really bad whenever I have that kind of attitude about, I would rather him just die than him be, because when we divorce, it's like there is a death, this grieving process that you go through, but the other person's still walking the earth, and it's like, but there's this disconnect. I don't know, and so I don't know why I had to say that, but I felt like I needed to say that. It's part of our frustration that comes out, but it is a grieving process, Sophia. So yeah, our body does also grieve in
Yes,
addition
yes,
to our mind.
yes.
Go ahead. Were you going to say something?
Well, I was about to say, I just recently had a family member that passed, and it is different because you say death and grieving. When you grieve someone that is gone, you're no longer going to have any interaction with them.
Right.
And when you end a relationship, you will continuously see this person. In my case, I have a son that he's going to have to, pick up, take places, and so it's difficult. It's difficult to end that, especially if the other party doesn't want to end that.
Right.
You have made the decision that this is final. This is, the end. And so when you compare it, those two different ways, it's very difficult, because that this is the end, but they're not there yet.
Right. And it's not that one is more devastating than the other. But divorce still is like a death. It has those similar qualities and those similar it triggers those similar feelings in a different degree, in a different way. Okay, so I'm looking for question marks. Well, everybody's got a lot to say. And I just wish I could read them all, but I'm just going through looking for question marks, y'all. So if y'all have any questions, make sure you please put the question mark so I can know to stop there whenever I see it. So okay, do you still want love, and how will you know when it's time? Oh, great question.
Yeah, I don't know.
Thank you, Psyche Eros. I think that's how you said Psyche Eros, Psyche.
I think I have to work on myself first so that, you know, I wouldn't go into a relationship like I've been in for the last, 30 some odd years. I think I would need to work on myself. And then maybe sometime in the future, who could say no to love?
Right. So when you say work on yourself, okay, so let's talk about that for a minute, because sometimes you are just so sweet and mild-mannered and very
Thank you.
warm and I can't like you're just like a sweet friend. Like, I can't explain it. And see, whenever I was where you are leaving this marriage, I was like, I was just all bowed up and defensive and all that stuff. Such a different energy with you right now than what I recall me being. And now, why was I saying that? Oh, about love, because I left thinking I'm going to go find somebody who really loves me. But what I didn't realize is I didn't love me. So,
Yes.
and it took me another 3 years after that. Well, we got divorced in 2016. In June of 2018, I took myself off the market as far as dating goes and relationships.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's when I decided I have some work to do.
Right.
But it took a while for me to understand that. But you're going in to
Yes.
this transition with that understanding.
Yes.
So what is the work that you need to do? Because you're doing so great, perfect, like wonderful. Like,
no.
What do you have to do?
No, by no means. I just have always felt the need to work on myself, have always felt the need to become more spiritual, have always just wanted to be a better person. And I feel like the person I became in this marriage was awful. So that's where I'm saying, I need to work on myself, not to let that happen to myself again. And maybe that's, another part of that boundaries, because you don't want somebody to literally take over your makeup and you become them. And so I think that there was a lot of negative energy that I feel like came from him, and I absorbed it, and I don't want that to ever happen again. I want to, evolve and just set my boundaries where, this is the person, if one day, I were to come into someone who would offer me love, that this would be the person that I would want, someone that wouldn't change who I want to be spiritually. And that's where I'm headed. I don't know what it's going to take. I don't know, how many books it's going to take, how many videos from Cheryl it's going to take. That's where I'm headed. And right. I'm sorry if I might have more questions today instead of, being open. But, I'm definitely in an area where I'm looking, for help to get to where I need to be in life. And this is very raw. This happened, the end of August last year. So it's been about 5 months.
Right.
It's very new.
So, but this is what I love is that, okay, so yeah, I want to get on round table and talk. I don't have any answers, but I definitely want to get up there and talk. And I love that, because if we could
I'm here.
Yes. And if we could all, I say that in my videos, I'm not a guru. I'm still working this stuff out. And it's like, if we could all approach each other in that way where we don't have to have all the answers, but searching is good.
Yes.
Searching is good, and always striving to understand and to be a better person, and all that stuff is good. I've been in sales my whole life, so I did personal development and self-help stuff all my life. But for me, And y'all, I don't know why I was so awful, but for me, I would read that stuff and go, well, see, they need that and they need that, but I never could see that I was the one who needed that.
Yes.
I always thought I was, whatever. Um, but so I'm just so amazed at your nature and your humbleness that, um, again,
Well,
coming out so fresh from it, you're so meek and mild about where you are and where you are wanting to go. It's just beautiful to me.
thank you. Thank you. And, yesterday, the day before, I thought, and I mentioned this to you when we started, what are we going to talk about?
Yeah.
you know, what are we going to say? And, that's at the forefront. That's what I'm going through right now. So that's the reason it's okay to talk about it. And I know that everything happens for a reason. And I know that, anything that your viewers, people that give to me, I know that I will be able to take that and move forward. And that's what, like I said, I'm open, I'm ready, whatever I can do, whatever I can receive to help me. And that's what I'm here for.
Right. That's what you're here for. That's what we're all here for.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, for making space environment for us to share. You're welcome, Shelley. Do you still want, okay, and how will you know when it's time? You're gonna know when, well, we talked about who wouldn't want love, but how are you gonna know when it's time? I don't think we necessarily answered that question.
How will I know when it's time? I guess I don't know. I don't know how I would know when it's time. I know that, when I feel better, about what I've just ended, and when I feel like I've overcome the guilt possibly
Right.
of ending the relationship, even though I know that it needed to happen. And I've healed completely and I feel better, spiritually about it. Maybe then that's when it'll be time.
Yeah.
And who's to say that's in a month or that's in a year or that's in 5 years?
Right. You'll know when you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Misty wants to know, I think it's important to never stunt our feelings or intuition when someone's having thoughts of hurting themselves. She wants to know, how do you feel about traditional medication for depression? She says she feels like it's important not to stunt our feelings.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about it?
I've never taken anything for depression. I don't, that's not to say that one day I may need it. I don't feel like I need it, but for those who truly need something like that to go and live day by day, I'm no one to say that they shouldn't have it. So definitely if someone is on the brink and needs medication to help them get through whatever their process or their depression or whatever they're going through at that point, and that's what helps them get through, then so be it.
Yes. And she did go ahead and say toward the end, unless somebody's having thoughts of hurting themselves, but she feels like medication also can stunt our intuition also.
I do
So,
feel like sometimes it numbs you. I do feel that. But again, if someone truly, really needed it to get
right,
through, another day, then
right,
definitely they should.
definitely, yeah. So Violetta said the journey within is hard work. However,
Yes.
so with it, showing up for yourself is important. Um, so we have to be strong. Coming back in grounded reality in which we were born is essential. Understand who is still trapped in the reality that you're coming back. Help them communicate your feeling. Goss Sog said that. So Diane has a question. Sophia, you say you are stuck from moving forward until you're over the guilt. What specifically do you feel guilty about?
The
Or
hurt.
you're still carrying the guilt?
The hurt that he is experiencing. I see it. I see it. It's had a physical change in him. It's heavy for him, and that's very hard for me to see. Very hard.
Right.
And so that is where the guilt lays. If I pray every day for peace for him,
Right.
you know, I send positive affirmations to him. I go to sleep thinking, you know, very positive love. I send love because I want him to grow from this. I know that, you know, I want that for him and for anyone. You know, you don't want to see people hurting. In this case, even though I knew that it was over, you know, it doesn't mean that you didn't care for that person for 30 something years.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing any person, you know, in a grieving position, it hurts to see that person. So more so when you've spent 30 years with them.
Yes. Because even though you know that's not the person that you need to stay with, because it's not good for either of you, really, you do have love for them because like you said, 32 years, that's a long time.
Yes.
So Gigi says, Sophia is true to her name. She is wise. So somebody looked up your name and it must mean wise.
It does.
It does. Yeah. So you are true to your name. Okay. So have you thought about massage therapy? How do you feel about that?
I'm very open to anything.
Yes. Okay. So maybe saying it's something that you should maybe think about. And are you doing family or group? Are you doing any kind of counseling, family or group counseling? No. Diane, do you have any suggestions as she moves forward? Misty Barrett is saying 10 of Wands, and I'm so glad you brought that up, because I wanted to say that basically that perhaps it's time for you, and I don't know if this is what you were thinking, Misty, but just before you said that, I was thinking perhaps instead of continuing to send him those, instead of taking all of your energy and sending him that, maybe it's about surrendering him to the creator and allowing the creator to do that healing energy work with him, and you change that focus back to yourself, because I feel like you're actually still putting his needs before your own movement forward.
That's very true. That's very true. And I didn't get that until now. That's so true.
Yeah. So I was thinking it, and then Misty said it. So I said, okay, well, now we got to say it. That's how.
Please, please say what you're thinking.
So maybe surrender, instead of sending him all that love, just send him through spirit, spirit. Okay. You take him and allow me to heal also. You heal him. I'm going to work on us healing me. Doreen says Dee says she was a massage therapist, and it helped a lot of people who had emotional pain. And Misty's wanting to know if you've introduced him to spirituality. Did you do that before you left? Or did y'all?
I tried. Yes. I tried. Yes. All throughout my marriage, when we were first, my first 5-10 years, I went to a Methodist church, and I tried to take him. And later, we did go a couple of times to a Catholic. Like I said, I was exposed to different religions. So I've been to different, churches, and he just never did like going to any of them. And then later, as I was reading and educating myself more spiritually, I would, bring lots of things to his attention, and just never really connected with any of that. So not to say he isn't spiritual, he just, with me, just never connected with that.
Right. It's just not something he thinks about.
Yes.
Just doesn't go there. Okay. At this point, a lot of people will assume that somehow they have done something wrong, that something is terribly wrong, but it's important to know that nothing has gone wrong. Thank you, Gog. I invite you to meditate on how you would feel, on why do you feel guilty when in your life as a child is having take on this guilt. What wound needs to come up that you need to look at? Ask God to reveal the wound. So Violetta is feeling like some of your guilt might be based on earlier childhood trauma for yourself that you're some wound that you're carrying, which you'll be able to go back and read those. But she's inviting you to meditate and ask spirit to show you what inner wound do you have that is possibly causing you to carry this guilt. Okay, good, Misty. I said it exactly the way she wanted it to. Is the next step in one's awakening. It is the next step in one's awakening. Understanding that nothing has gone wrong. But you basically said that earlier whenever you said, I know that I have things to go through, and I know that he has things to go through, and it's part of both of your journey. And, he may never in this lifetime get to that understanding.
It's possible, right?
And then that's going to have to be okay with you.
Yes.
And so he may spend the rest of his lifetime feeling rejected and everything because of your actions, but you can't be responsible for that.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so Diane said she just ended a 25-year marriage with 8 children, and it takes time. Family counseling was vital to his healing, and you're releasing the guilt. So she's saying the counseling is vital for the both of you, for you to be able to release the guilt and for him to be able to move on. He won't move forward without learning his lessons too. Yes. Pray for change within him.
Yes.
So everybody's praying for you and sending you good love and good wishes. And this really is a timely talk. I mean, divorce has not ended. Divorce goes on every day. Every day people are getting divorces, and after long-term marriages, people are getting divorces. My husband and I, it was a total of 23 years that we were together. And it was difficult.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, it was so difficult, and I was so sure that I would fall back into the marriage that I kind of just like cut myself off. I left a Dear John letter and wouldn't tell anybody where I was.
Yes. Yes.
I felt like I just needed to be able to shelter myself. I don't know, but anyway. Okay, so does anybody have any final questions it is already an hour.
That went by really quickly.
Yeah, we were worried, huh? You were worried. What are we going to even talk about? Sophia, do you have an email address or anything if somebody wants to reach out to you, or would you prefer not to put personal information out there? It's
No, definitely.
Okay, yeah. So if you would like to reach out to Sophia, go ahead.
It's S Mucino, and I'll spell that. It's M as in Mary, UCINO @Gmail. I'm sorry, S Mucino, the number 3, the number 2 @gmail.com.
smucino32@gmail.com. So if you guys have, if you've been through this and you have suggestions, like Diane was saying, family counseling or something like that, and you want to reach out to Sophia, please do so. If you are contemplating going through this journey and you have questions for Sophia, I'm sure Sophia would be happy to answer them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because that's what we do, guys. We hook arms and we walk forward together.
Yes.
But anyway, and I know I just heard somebody say, and singing Kumbaya or whatever. Are you able to forgive yourself? By this, I mean when looking back and owning your role in creating the current situation.
Yes. I think that's why I ended it, because I know I needed to end that because of my role in it all, and how I allowed myself to change over the years.
Right.
Absolutely. I know I was very wrong in many aspects, many ways, many things that happened. And
so have you been able to forgive yourself already, or is that part of the guilt that you're working on?
I really don't think that's part of my guilt.
Okay.
But I do acknowledge that.
Yes. So Marlene Van Tonder, and I don't know if I said that right. I butchered it, I'm sure. Forgiveness or guilt goes both ways. If we can say to ourselves, forgive me and him for forsaking our own divinity. So, so right. Because it would be easy for you to blame him for you becoming that other person. But in fact, you just allowed yourself to become a different person.
Yes, I did. Yes,
So,
very true.
okay, guys. Well, that is our visit today, our roundtable with Sophia Mucino. And thank you, Sophia, so much for
Thank you all.
agreeing.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Oh, look, I need to pull for next. Do you mind hanging on for just
a minute? No, go right ahead.
I'm putting in the new names of people who have recently emailed. There is Brittany Shantae. And this is going in with the names that I already still have from the last times. And then there is Corey Creech, also would like to be a participant in Roundtable. Darina Esmont, and if I am butchering those names, I do apologize. Iona Alexandra Fodder also would like to participate in Roundtable. And guys, remember, everybody who gets in here, I'll just keep drawing names. So I can't promise you when you get to participate, but everybody should get to participate. Amanda Wells. And I've been drawing 3 or 4 names and end up with only one person. So I guess I'm going to continue to do that. And Mauro Perez also going in to this. So I'll continue to draw 3 or 4 names. And if we get more than one person on Roundtable, we'll know that's just how it was meant to be. But mostly it's just been one person at a time, even though we draw 3 or 4 names. Isn't that wild? And Gigi, if you're still on here, we drew your name last week, or 2 weeks ago, but I didn't have your email address. So you might want to email me at spiritmail.com because I'll throw you in there if you do that. I won't throw you back in. I'll throw you on to the next roundtable. Okay. So I'm going to blindfold myself, right? So to participate, we have Kathy Davis. I don't know why I'm trying to cover my eyes. It's impossible, right? Amanda Wells, your name just went in and just came out. There you go. And I'm going to draw one more since I have email addresses for all these people. And if Gigi, if you're still on here, email me at spiritmailtarot@gmail.com and I will set you up to be a participant in the next one. Wow, 2 of the people that just went in just came out. Iona Alexandra Fodder. So that's our 3 for next week, plus Gigi if she gets back with me. And again, Sophia, I want to thank you so much for allowing us to visit with you and for sharing your personal story, for sharing your heart and your journey. And
thank you. Thank you for giving us the platform. Thank you for giving us the space.
Well,
sometimes that's all we need. Sometimes that's all we need. We just need to be able to share.
Yeah.
One another.
Yeah, well, and I'm going to thank you and everybody else in this community who's still here. Thank you all for being a part of Spirit Mail, because it is this community. I feel like it does as much for me as it does for y'all. I promise you. You have no idea. So I love you all. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Oh well, here now. Bye.